everyone. I'm Greta with Chattahoochee Valley Library's Children's Department. Welcome to another virtual story time. Today I have a short story to share with you, and then we're going to do a science experiment that you'll be able to do at your own home. It's pretty simple. You'll just need a jar and some water and maybe some small rocks or pebbles or even ice cubes will work. Before we get started, let's review the 5 simple steps that we always talk about at Chattahoochee Valley Libraries that make your brain grow and make sure you're ready for school. The 5 simple steps are talk, sing, read, write, and play. And if you do those 5 simple things every day, all day long, mixing them all up, your brain really does grow. You learn more language and you learn more about the world around you. The easiest way to remember what the 5 simple steps are is through a song. Singing is a great memory device. Now, those of us at the library that do story time, we each sing this song in a different way because we each remember it in a different way. But here's how I do it. Talk, sing, read, write, play. Talk, sing, read, write, play. Talk, sing, read, write, play. Do it every day. We hope that you'll remember those 5 simple steps and you'll practice those 5 simple steps so that all the kids in our community show up at school ready to learn. Let's get started with my story today. We are going to read a fable. A fable is a special kind of story from long, long ago. Fables usually have animals as characters, but those animals talk and act like humans, and they have problems like humans. The most important thing about fables is that they're written to teach us a life lesson or a moral. Now, one of the famous authors of fables is Aesop. And he lived way back in ancient times. In fact, he was a slave in ancient times. But he wrote over 700 different fables to help teach life lessons. And he became one of the most famous and most revered fable writers. So you may have heard some famous morals from Aesop's fables, like slow and steady wins the race. If you've ever heard the story of the rabbit and the turtle that race, and everyone thinks the rabbit will win, but slow and steady wins the race. Or you may have heard a fable about an ant and a grasshopper, and the moral of that story is to make sure there's a time for work and a time for play. The story I'm going to read today is from this collection. You can also find it in a lot of our online sources through Chattahoochee Valley Libraries. It's called The Crow and the Jug. And I got to tell you, I hadn't heard of it until recently. Here it is in the middle of the book, The Crow and the Jug. If you pay close attention to the story, you'll probably be able to guess what our science experiment is going to be about. I don't have a crow puppet, but this is a bird. So we'll use our imagination that this is the bird from the story. I want to give you a visual about this story before we read it. Again, this is a black crow. And you see his beak? Well, he happens to be very thirsty. And he flies into the garden and he discovers a jug with some water in it. The rain had filled the jug up. But there's a problem. He can't reach the water and he's so thirsty. Well, the story of the crow and the jug that you're about to hear will tell you how he solved this problem. Pay close attention, and then we'll retell the story while we do our science experiment. Ready? Well, Aesop wrote his fables hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but there's a lot of really great authors and illustrators that have created books retelling his stories. Today I have the McElderly book of Aesop's Fables, by Michael MORPURGO, and it's illustrated by Emma Chichester Clark. This collection has 21 different Aesop's fables, and today we're going to read The Crow and the Jug. It was bone dry in the countryside. There had been no rain for weeks on end now. For all the animals and birds, it had been a terrible time. To even find a single drop of water was almost impossible for them. But the crow, being the cleverest of birds, always managed to find just enough water to keep himself alive. One morning, as he flew over a cottage, he saw a jug standing nearby. The crow knew, of course, that jugs were for water, and as he flew down, he could smell the water inside. He landed and he hopped closer to have another look. And sure enough, there was some water at the bottom. Not much, maybe, but a little water was a lot better than no water at all. The crow stuck his head into the jug to drink. His beak, long though it was, would not reach far enough down, no matter how hard he pushed. He tried and he tried, but it was no good. However, he knew that one way or another he had to drink that water. He stood there by the jug, wondering what he was going to do. And then he saw pebbles lying on the ground nearby, and that gave him a brilliant idea. I wonder what he's thinking. Well, one by one, he picked up the pebbles and dropped them into the jug. As each pebble fell to the bottom, the water in the jug rose higher and then higher and higher, until the crow had dropped so many pebbles in the water that the water was overflowing. And now he could drink and drink his fill. What a clever crow, he thought as he drank. What a clever crow. The moral of this Aesop's fable is where there's a will, there's a way, but it helps if you use your brain. I've also heard it said that the moral of this story is necessity is the mother of invention, which means when you need to do something, that helps you invent a way to make it happen. So I hope you've enjoyed this version of The Crow and the Jug. Now, let's get to our science experiment. The scientific term for what that crow did in our story was water displacement. Every time he dropped a pebble into the jug, the volume or the space that that pebble took up pushed the water out of the way and caused the water to rise up. So water displacement is something you may have experienced when you take a bath and accidentally fill it up too high, and then when you get in, it splashes over the edge. Water displacement is a way of measuring the volume of something. Now today, when we do our experiment, you might want to use the scientific method. That's when you ask a question, such as, how many pebbles will it take to raise the water over the rim? Then you gather information, form a hypothesis where you guess, test your hypothesis, and share your results. Again, the simple steps, talk, sing, read, write, and play, come into play with this STEAM activity because you can write down your hypothesis, either in words or pictures. You can talk about it and test it with your experiment. And when you share your results, you can do that again with pictures and words, however you want to do it. Here's some questions I came up for my experiment. How many pebbles will it take to raise the water level to the rim? Then I also have some other questions that might come up, like will ice cubes work the same as pebbles? And how many pebbles does it take just to raise the water an inch? There's a lot of things you might find around the house or outside that you can use for the pebbles. Like I said, ice cubes will work too. And I've got all kinds of containers here that might work. Old water bottles, plastic cups, You don't have to have a clear container at your house, but I wanted to use a clear container to show you the experiments here at my house. Measuring cups are great because they already come lined with measuring, or you can use a ruler and a piece of tape and create your own measurement for your experiments. Now you can see I've added some food coloring to this water. It's not necessary, but I think it's going to help you be able to see the water rise when we reenact our story using my puppet and that jug back there. Let's give it a try. All right, time for us to have fun with two of my favorite things, science and storytelling. Here's our bird, here's our jug, and here's our pebbles. The thing about Aesop stories is they're meant to be retold in your own words. So I'll retell the story and we'll conduct our science experiment. My hypothesis is that the water level is here and it's going to take 10 pebbles for it to reach the top of the jug. That's my hypothesis. You think of your own hypothesis and let's retell the story. There once was a very thirsty bird. It hadn't rained in a very long time and she needed some water. So she flew around the neighborhood looking and looking for water and spied a jug in the backyard of a neighbor. She flew down to the jug, smelled that it was fresh water, but sadly, she couldn't reach it to drink. That was quite a problem. She needed to have that water. Then she spied some pebbles nearby and came up with a genius plan of dropping the pebbles into the jug until she could reach the water. Let's see how many pebbles it takes. Remember, my hypothesis was 10. Let's see. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do you see the line where the water used to be? 6 pebbles have displaced that water until it's up to here. What's after 6? 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, 10 did not reach the rim, and she can't quite reach it with her beak, so it's going to take some more. What comes after 10? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Do you think she could reach it now? I don't really want to get her beak wet, but let's see. Oh, yes, she definitely could reach it now. So 17 pebbles brought it up to where she could reach it. But the rim is right here. Let's see, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, got it pretty close to that rim. Well, to finish our story, our thirsty bird and her genius idea of water displacement with pebbles cured her thirst. The end. All right, at your house, figure out some water displacement experiments you could do and maybe make up a story to go along. We'll see you next time for another Chattahoochee Valley Library's story time. Bye, everyone.
Inspirational.
Exceptional.
High tech.
Organizing.
Huh? Oh,
Reading it. Warm and fuzzy.
Suspenseful.
Reading is musical.
out of the
this world.
Reading is everything.
The Summer Reading Challenge.
We're open. Check us out.